Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to introduce a longtime Almond Conference sponsor, Borrell. This is actually their 14th year as a gold sponsor for the conference. Borrell offers machines that completely cover all stages of almond processing, everything from hulling and shelling to cutting and milling. Now in their 100th year, Borrell continues to develop new and innovative solutions for an ever-changing industry. Please help me welcome Charles Boddy as he tells us more about Borrell.
Thank you very much, Mandy. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Charles Boddy. I've been working with Borrell now for 28 years, long time, and I'm delighted to be here at the 50th Almond Conference here to tell you a little bit more about some of our machines. Now, the presentation today, we've got 3 short videos, and what we're going to do is the first video is an introduction. It's an overview of what Borrell's been doing for the last year or two, and then the second video is going to go into a little bit about the hulling and shelling, and then we have a third video on the blanching. So we're going to put the 3 videos on, and between each video I'm going to give a little bit more information as to what you've seen and put a bit more meat on the bone as to what we're doing. Okay, so that was a little teaser as to what we've been doing for the last 2 years with regards to developing new technology, specifically for the receiving, the pre-cleaning, and the hulling and the shelling. There have been big changes in the industry, not just for the California almond industry, but also for the Mediterranean variety industries. We've seen a lot of new players coming into the market now. We're doing business in countries like Azerbaijan and Georgia, ex-Soviet Georgia, and all of those different markets are presenting a challenge now for us, because we're not talking about traditional Mediterranean varieties or just the California almond varieties. We're talking about projects where we're having to mix technology, and we're having to use a variation of a theme in that we're using three different types of almond shelling technologies to crack the almonds, because we've got hard shell almonds, we've got the soft shell California varieties, and then we've got the medium hard or medium soft varieties, which are the new higher yielding, later flowering varieties that have been very, very popular in the Mediterranean growing areas of the last few years. So it's been a challenge, and the next video that we're putting on is going to show a little bit more as to what we're doing in the new hulling and shelling lines. So I'm going to put that video on and then put a little bit more information as to exactly what we're doing and what the challenges are. Okay, so in that last video, we saw some new machines that we've developed specifically for the softer shell California varieties. And it's hybrid technology in that what we're using is a combination of shear rolls, rotary shellers, and then we're using our tried and tested separator machines, which is actually it's a design that's 100 years old. And that machine has now been brought into the 21st century by adding some technical advances, using servo motors to adjust the aspiration, variable frequency drives, and some other neat tricks that we've done to be able to accommodate larger capacities as well. Because I'd say that's really the biggest difference between the lines that we're designing now and the lines that we were designing 3-4 years ago. We've doubled or tripled the capacity for the hulling and shelling. So that's put us in good stead to be able to handle these new customers that are coming, whether they're from Australia, from South Africa, from California, or from some of those emerging sectors as well, like Azerbaijan. So that's really where we're putting our focus right now. Increasing the efficiency of the hullers, the shellers, and the separators. And I think one of the things where Borrell stands out is that the design criteria behind our lines is to get the almond meats out as quick as possible, to pass through as few machines as possible. And that means that the machines have to be larger capacity, they have to be able to handle the higher throughput, and they have to be more efficient than our competitors. And that allows us to have a smaller footprint. It allows us to be more efficient in terms of power usage. That's something that's important now. With everything that's going on in the world, if we can deliver a line that consumes 100 or 200 or 300 kilowatts less than our competitors, I think at the end of the year that's going to count for a lot. But at the same time, maintaining the quality, minimum chip and scratch, minimum mechanical damage as well. So there's a lot of things that Borrell can bring to the table in terms of design and innovation of our equipment. The next 2-3 minute video is going to focus more on the blanching and the value added. That's something as well that's become more popular in recent years. People are looking to get more bang for their buck in terms of what they can do with an almond. Let's not just sell a brown skin whole almond. What can we do with that brown skin whole almond? We can roast it. We can blanch it. We can then make it into slivers, sliced, and then with the subproducts that we get from the slivers and the slice, we can make almond flour, ultra-fine almond flour. We can make almond milk. There's a whole myriad of subproducts and other things that we can produce with almonds. So the innovation has to be there. We're constantly searching for better ways to do more things with almonds in a more efficient manner. And we partner with 3 companies mainly. We partner with FAM for the cutting equipment. FAM is a Belgium company, and they have the most innovative cutting equipment really that there is on the market. We also partner with Almond Blanche. The gentleman on the right there, tall guy with glasses, Nick Gaisford, is one of the directors of Almond Blanche, and they really are at the forefront of almond drying. Now, when I say almond drying, I'm not talking about the kernels. I'm talking about the almonds in the hull or the almonds in the shell. And Almond Blanche build the best dryers there are on the market. They cut their teeth really on the Australian market. Just about anyone in Australia has an Almond Blanche dryer. So we're partnering with them, and we've sold equipment into Spain and Portugal, and we've got some other projects on in other parts of the world as well. So apart from FAM and Almond Blanche, we're also partnering with Tomra. We've represented Tomra now for 10 years, and really they're at the top of the game when it comes to the optical sorting as well. So Borrell can't be all things to all people. We've got to partner with the best guys there are in the industry to be able to provide the best overall solution, and that's really why we choose our partners carefully, and we form a happy marriage with all 3 of those companies. Okay, I'm going to put on the Blanche line video, and then we talk a little bit more about that afterwards. Okay, when it comes to almond blanching, we do things a little bit differently from some of our competitors. We use a hot water blancher. Um, we only use steam to keep the temperature of the water up to 96 degrees, and that generally gives us a whiter blanch. It gives us a whiter product, which is what everybody's looking for, a nice white, shiny almond coming out of the end of the line. So apart from the hot water, we also have the two-pass system for the rolls to remove the skins rather than a three-pass. What are the benefits of that? Well, basically it means that if you're only putting your almonds through two sets of rubber rolls, you generally get less splits. And when you're talking about some of the newer varieties, Mediterranean or California, um, they're taking two steps forwards in terms of yield, but they're taking a couple of steps back in terms of robustness. Some of these new varieties are actually a little bit weaker than the older varieties. So the more gentle we are in conveying and the more gentle that we are in the blanching, the better. So we get less splits at the end of the line. We incorporate continuous dryers, multi-pass dryers, um, regular ambient air coolers, or we can use air-conditioned coolers as well. We partner with Toma again for the optical sorters at the end of the line to take out any discolored, any adhering skin, any rotten. So really, at the end of the line, we've got a perfect almond that can then be sized and packed. So I think in terms of whole blanched almonds, we've got a lot to offer. We've got bigger lines now, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 or 8,000 pound per hour capacity. And we're partnering again, obviously, with FAM when it comes to the slicing and the slivering. So really, yield is something that you've seen repeated up on the screen several times during this presentation. And the yield's super important. You know, for somebody who's doing maybe 10 million pounds of value-added products over the course of the year, to be able to get 8% more yield on your sliced, whether it's a natural slice or whether it's your blanched slice, that makes a huge difference. You know, it'll pay off for that machine. If it's a $80,000 or $100,000 machine, it'll pay for that machine tenfold in just a single year. So the return on the investment is very, very fast. Okay, just to finish up, I'm going to put some slides on that really just recap what I've been discussing. When it comes to the shelling, these are the images of the three different technologies that we're using. We've got the rotary sheller, which is a friction sheller for California almonds. We have the shear roll, which I guess most people are pretty familiar with. And then we have the hard shell cracker. And the hard shell cracker, that big box at the bottom right of the picture, if you can like imagine opening the doors and then seeing 500 little people in there, sizing each almond individually one by one and then cracking them according to size, that's basically what that machine's doing. It's the most precise hard shell almond cracker that exists. It was invented 100 years ago. It's obviously been developed a little bit more and modernized since then, but it's basically the same principle. We size each almond individually one by one, and we do that twice. Then we crack it exactly according to size. So you get a perfect almond, and generally speaking, you get two big pieces of shell, which means it's really easy to screen that out and separate the shells from the meats. Yeah, this is just a recap as to what I was saying. Some of the new lines that we've been developing have been specifically tailor-made for the customers that we've got in emerging countries. The fact that our lines have a modular design makes them easy to, it makes them more accessible to buy in the first place, because you can buy a single line to do about 5,000 pounds an hour, and then as your production increases, you can then add a second module to do another 5,000 pounds, and then 3 years further down the line, another 5,000 pounds. So you don't have to come up with a $10 million investment straight off the bat. You can do that as a staged process. The Smart Sorter is a machine that we've sold all over the world on all sorts of different almond applications. Basically, it's the end of the line kernel cleaner just before you go into the optical sorting. But we can also use it for sub-products to be able to separate splits and broken almonds efficiently from some of from the shell and the hull. So it's a hash sorter, and it's also a full PC-controlled gravity table. With regards to the almond blanching, I think one of the things that we should point out is that we're more economical in how much water we're using. Now, I mentioned that we use less energy in our lines, less electricity, but I think, and this is particularly relevant here in California right now, I think if we can use less water and be more efficient when we're blanching the almonds, that's definitely a plus point as well. And we're as stingy as we can be in terms of water consumption. This image shows the gut of the Centris 400, which has been a revolutionary machine in terms of almond slicing, because up until now, our nearest competitors did around 500, 600 pounds per hour for slicing, and then FAM developed this machine. It was developed over several years in different stages, but this is the latest incarnation of this machine, and it'll do 4,000 pounds an hour. And we'll guarantee it'll get between 8 to 10% more yield for sliced almonds, whether they're blanched or natural. That's a big, big difference. Also, it's super user-friendly and very, very hygienic. This is the little sister of the Centris machine. This actually does almond slivers. So it'll take the splits and it'll take them into nice little slivers, different sizes as well, depending on the knife head configuration. They've also got a 3D FlexiFan machine that we have on our booth behind if anyone wants to come and see it later. And that machine is pretty unique because what it does, it takes a whole almond, it splits it down the middle, makes it into two halves, and then it takes both of those halves, takes them into slivers, and then we have a cross-cut assembly that actually makes those slivers into perfect almond cubes as well. It's the only machine that I know on the market that exists that does that. And it doesn't produce almond granules. No, it produces diced, perfectly diced products. So when you compare one with the other, there's a clear difference. And you get a higher yield as well because you plasticize the product before you cut it, which means that you get more yield, less flour, and more money. Go nuts this Christmas. Happy Christmas to everybody. I know it's a little bit early, but and thank you for your attention.